happen and not sitting around waiting. I felt like this organization actually was moving balls and forward to make change, and I like that. There's a lot of work that we've started. When I say we, I'm saying we because I'm now on the board for CFA. And so we've launched a statewide Kentucky food policy network that just happened here in November. I also like the community development part of CFA, that they are the farmers market support program is excellent, and the Healthy Communities Initiative with the Kentucky Double Dollars program. CFA envisions a food system for all Kentuckians that is socially, economically, and ecologically sustainable. And so I think it's a place where all of us, not just farmers, but all of us individuals and people that live here can come together and actually join and make change. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to cfaky.org/donate and become a member for CFA. It's not that expensive. Every year our membership people join, and it's something you can do and afford to do. So with that, we'll hand it over to Tiffany Belfield-Elamine, and she's going to talk a little bit more about what she does for CFA and her new role this year.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's awesome to see everybody on this chat. This is amazing. Hope everybody can hear me well. So I'll be with Kelsey on this chat box, checking everybody's questions, making sure that we get all the questions asked and everybody gets a place at this table. When I first started off with Community Farm Alliance, I was the Northeast Farm and Table Coordinator. This year, I'm now the Food Justice Organizer. And that is really a big chunk of equity work in Kentucky's ag local food systems, from farmers markets to communities, and just trying to figure out what communities need and how we can put resources and support there to assist with those needs. So this year has been an amazing part of dealing with the pandemic that we began the Kentucky Black Farmer Fund. And I get to do an update with that. I did not work alone. Lori White, who is here as a participant, but is also my coworker, had a large part to do with this, and we do it together. The first round, there's Lori. The first round had 54 applicants. The second round had 15 with 9 approved. So that all together with all our applications, we had 62 Black-ran farm businesses, agribusinesses, cooperatives, you name it, but Black-owned, Black-ran. And it was just something that we all needed to see because, you know, Black ag is this very small percentage of Kentuckians, but they're there, and they're growing, and we are growing because I'm a Black farmer too. And it was just amazing to see, you know, at a time when people were like not knowing what was going to happen, that we gathered our resources and we talked to people and people talked to us, and we knew that the first step that we could take was to allot monies for Black farmers special. A lot of money is coming in Kentucky, but the ratio is true, in fact, that we are a very small percentage of that. And so this fund made sure that Black farmers got some type of money during this time to help with their production at their farm, which was pretty amazing. And so because of that, we've come up with this assessment. It's the Black Farmer Need Assessment. We've all been working on it as a team. And the whole idea is I'll just say it, like me as a Black farmer, sometimes I see surveys or assessments, or I go to conferences and I'm like, yeah, I think I want something else out of this. And I never knew exactly how to find out how to get more out of it. And so this needs assessment, from talking to all of the participants during the Kentucky Black Farmer Fund rounds, we noticed that there's some things that, you know, we as Black farmers want to have seen more of or not see a lot of, or there's some resources that we're good on, but there's some that we're lacking. And so this needs assessment is going to be a way to not only find out where all our Black farmers are and what they need, but exactly what they want, how they're feeling being a part of Kentucky agriculture. So just look for this assessment. We're going to drop some information about it. We can talk about it. We could talk about other rounds of money coming for Black farmers and socially disadvantaged farmers in Kentucky. This is a big part of the equity work that we are piloting. So that's all I'm going to say about it now. Giving it back to Kenya.
Great. I'm so excited about our panelists tonight. We have a really nice, diverse group. I'm going to start introducing everyone. So I'll start with the beautiful Dr. Nancy Dawson from Russellville Urban Garden Project in Logan County. And
Hello, hello, hello.
hello, Dr. Dawson. How are you tonight?
I'm doing just fine.
Great. And then we have Travis Fugate from Good for Your Heart Farm in Knott County, Kentucky. Hi, Travis.
Hey, guys. Hello.
Great. And then, hey. And we also have Mr. Nelson Escobar, and he's joining us by phone. Nelson is with Minga Farm Cooperative in Oldham County, Kentucky. Hello, Nelson. He's there, I promise. We also have Lisa Munniksma, and she's a freelance writer and food system advocate in Franklin County, Kentucky. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Hello. When I said earlier, I don't know if I said 4 or 5, we were supposed to have a 5th panelist today, and it was a farmer from Louisville, Kentucky. Her name was Nang Block, and she's from Cochin Farm and Common Earth Gardens, but she couldn't attend tonight. So unfortunately, she won't be with us, but we still do have the 4 panelists here today. So I guess we could get started right off with just having everyone introduce themselves and tell us about your farm operation. And I guess we could start with in order with Dr. Dawson. Just tell us about your operation and what you produce, etc.
Okay. Well, I'm Nancy Dawson. I have a farm in the middle of town, and we call ourselves Russellville Urban Gardening Project because even though Russellville is a rural area, we live in the city part of the rural area. And we started because we found that a lot of the young people in the area didn't know anything about farming, even though they lived in areas where there were large scale farms surrounding them. And so over the years, we've been in existence about 8 years. Over the years, we have progressed, and now we do really feed a farm in conjunction with Kentucky State University, where we work with women primarily, particularly a lot of older women, trying to get them to eat better. And so one of the things that we do is teach them simple things about farming. This year, because of the pandemic, we still, and that's one of the things I think that's important. You know, farmers are essential workers. And I don't think a lot of times that's not understood. If you have a farm, no matter what, you have to get out there. So we had to get out there and we had to work on it. Well, this year we produced a lot of different things. One of the things in particular that we were very proud of were purple sweet potatoes. We're beginning to do kind of niche farming where we're looking at specific vegetables that people are not used to. And so we started to make purple sweet potato pies, and it was a hit this year. Because, I don't know if you know, but there's 25 varieties of sweet potatoes. That's one of the things about doing small farming on these small plots of land, that you can do different kinds of things, and you can experiment with things that large scale agricultural people really don't do. And in addition, this year we had a summit in Russellville. It was held for 3 days in September, and we invited people from all over the United States. We did have people come because, as I said before, farmers are essential workers, and we have to get out there. And so we had people from Washington, D.C., we had people from Chicago, all over the United States, because a lot of the urban centers a lot of particularly where there's large concentration of African Americans, there is a need to get food into those areas. And the problem is that they want food. They want to know what farmers are producing that food. Okay. They want to see them. They want to know them. They want to identify with them. But there's a problem in terms of the transportation of moving food. This is a problem with Black farmers, period, moving the food. So if you look, we're in Western Kentucky, which is 2 hours from Louisville, 4 hours from Indianapolis, an hour from Nashville, about 4 hours from St. Louis. We are Chicago is I can get to Chicago in 8 hours. So we're in a place where, in actuality, a lot of the major metropolitan areas, if we were able to hook up, and we can able to get the transportation correctly, we can move the food to these areas where they can buy directly from African-American farmers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things we're working on. The last thing that I think that's important that we're working on, we have a new co-op that we're a part of that's called Ag First Community Co-op of Kentucky. We're getting ready to file our articles of incorporation. And we're working in conjunction with, I've also done work in Georgia, and we have a meat packing plant. So we're working with some people in terms of trying to produce, get a meat packing plant locally, because of course with the pandemic, that was a big problem. That people, like I said, once again, where's my food coming from? Where's my meat? How is it treated? Where is it coming from? And so we're trying to resolve some of those issues. So that's a few of the things that we're doing.
Wow, that's a lot. And I can't wait to get my hands on a purple sweet potato pie. That just sounds amazing. Wonderful. Okay, Travis, could you please introduce yourself and tell us about your farm operation, what you do and produce?
Yeah, it's a privilege to be here with you guys. I run a farm back here in the mountains in Eastern Kentucky with my sister. Other members of my family, my dad, help make things happen. We got started a few years ago, and we've tried to find ways to reconnect ourselves to the knowledge and methods of the past. We want to grow and preserve foods the way that our grandparents did. I think I grew up during the last part of the family garden era. It seemed like everyone had gardens and knew about food and watched food grow, and things are very different now. So in addition to just growing food, we try to look forward into the future and think about how we can have educational components here at the farm and bring people in, show them what we've learned and knowledge we've picked up from the old timers at the market, and also to bring people from outside of the mountains in and show them what growing food here in the mountains is like, and do what we can to pay attention to the local food system and find whatever ways we can to support it.
Wonderful.
Also, I should say I'm a disabled veteran. That's really what probably brings me into the group of being a minority producer. There are a lot of farmers as they age who pick up disabilities. So, it's also important for us to try to bring them in and find ways to encourage them and provide resources to help them continue farming. But it's been a great way for me to reconnect back to my community.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Travis. I'll have to come out to the mountains and see you.
Mm-hmm.
Next on our list is Miss Nelson Escobar and from Minga Farms Cooperative. Nelson, can you hear us? Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you produce? But you have to unmute yourself.
Nelson, your phone is still muted. I don't think I can unmute it from here.
You may be able to send a request for them to speak from your spot, Kelsey.
Let's see. Nelson, I think if you push *6, you might be able to unmute on your phone. Thanks, Jan.
No.
Perfect. You can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry. So I came to Kentucky from El Salvador 12 years ago and start to gardening and then start to farming a little bit more seriously. So fortunately, we met one farm here in Prospect, Kentucky, and they have access to a group of people who want to farm to the land because we are people without land. So we find this place thanks to the Wallace Farm. It was 10 years ago. And we start a group of people from Latin America and from the United States started to grow everything. But right now, we are growing mostly Latino crops, around 10 different Latino crops. Why? Because we are focused on this. One is because our crops, our food, mostly our food is a little different than here. Of course, we have tomato, we have pepper, etc. But on the countryside and the small town, the food is a little different. And it's interesting because this food is mostly wild here. And we are growing now. So this, we have 3 different cilantro substitutes. We grow something called yerba mora. I think it's black nightshade here. We grow a squash, and the squash is one of the most important crop in us because we eat and we sell everything from the squash. So we sell the fruit, we grow and sell the fruit, we sell the blossom, we sell the shoot, we sell the leaves, etc. Everything from the plant. So we grow hibiscus to use the greens for salad, and the hibiscus blossom to make tea. We grow something called jicama, etc. Okay. Anyway, so we are focused now in the Latino crops. When I say we are, is because it's not just myself. It's a group of people that we are trying to work together. We do a few farming activities together. Everyone grows different crops, and we sell together. So this is the important for us. So our main customer are the Hispanic people, but recently we make a good connection with African people. So we are growing now. It's better to say global crops, because what's interesting that the same crop that we eat in Latin America, they eat in Africa. And is one of the reasons we are growing this crop is because we miss this kind of food. We miss this kind of crop. Yes, the same with the Africa. When we met with a few African people, so they miss this kind of food. So it's a good connection with them. So we have our main customer are a grocery store, a few restaurants. We sell directly on the farm. and in a few farmer markets also. So this is it for now, and thank you again.
Thank you, Nelson. Very interesting. I'll want to get back with you about how many people you work with in your group. We might bring that up later, but I love that it's a cooperative that you're working with. Next, we'll move on to Lisa Munniksma. Lisa is a freelance writer and a food system advocate in Franklin County. Lisa, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am humbled to be here listening to everyone else's stories. I am a writer, write primarily about food and farming, food systems advocate. I've done a lot of work in the food system, building markets and working in food access, and also am a farmer. I've been farming in some form or another since 2011. Have traveled and worked on farms in different places, and have done farm work in Kentucky, as well as worked with farmers on communication and sort of related projects. Right now, I live in Franklin County on a small farm, and in fact, it's called The Small Farm. And this year, I didn't do any marketing in the traditional sense, but grew vegetables and herbs, gave a lot away, traded some, and am working out what that will look like in the future. But I guess I come at this work from just having different perspectives of being part of the food system in different ways.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'd like to get a little more into identities with everyone. Like, you know, we all come from different places and spaces. And like, I know for myself, I'm native to Ohio. But when I first came to Kentucky, I was a little bit concerned about being a farmer in Kentucky due to the fact that I'm a triple threat. I'm a Black Muslim woman. So it was kind of like, I felt like all the time, like where I came from, I was looked at and like had issues with racism. And when I came, my husband said, we're moving to Kentucky. I just couldn't even think about it. Like I was just like, are you crazy? It's going to be nuts. I'm not going to Kentucky. We're going to lose our shoes, and there's going to be all these rednecks. And I was just knew I was going to face all these issues. And I actually had to really build my confidence to bring forward what needed to, the work that I needed to do here. And that being my identity, I just would like to talk with you all about your identities. What identities do you bring to this space, and what does that mean for you? And also, how have those identities helped you shape your experience of farming in Kentucky? And so I'll start with Dr. Dawson on that question. Dr. Dawson, you're unmuted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
There you go.
I'm the only African-American female farmer in this area. And, you know, so what do? You'll see me, it's not unusual that you'll see me working with the Amish and the Mennonites. And in fact, when I first built my high tunnels, it was some Mennonite farmers that worked with me. So, and it's not unusual for them to drive their horse and buggies to see my farm, because they're interested in the fact that a Black woman is doing what she's doing. Because we're a missing entity in farming, although there are many of us that people really don't know that we exist. And it's like it's unusual to see us. So you're an anomaly to some degree by doing this. And like I said, but because of what I do, we work with all kinds of people. It's not unusual to see me working with Mennonites, working with Amish, going, you know, they know me. Oh, here she comes, you know. And in fact, I rely a lot on them for help. If I really want to know something, I'll go to them. You know, if I want to get some help or information about, well, how should we grow this? Or how should this happen? And in fact, that purple sweet potato, I got it from some of the Mennonites. And I didn't even really know. I just got a variety of sweet potatoes. I mean, and even though that is something, because George Washington Carver, you know, sweet potatoes was his thing. But I really never thought about the variety of sweet potatoes. So one of the things about being in these diverse communities of farmers, you can exchange this information across cultures, and I think that's the beautiful thing about it. So, like I said, I just stumbled on something with these sweet potatoes that I never even thought about. But that's something that George Washington Carver, the African American king of Tuskegee, was doing. But I never thought about it. So now I went back to the Tuskegee website. I started looking at George Washington Carver more, and started looking more at this sweet potato. And, you know, like I said, the fact that we can get different kinds, you know, and then because, you know, in the African American community, potatoes are a problem because of the starch, and there's so many people who have a disproportionate number of people who have diabetes and things like that. Mm-hmm. So looking at other kinds of things like sweet potato, looking at I've been looking at Jerusalem artichokes. Different kinds of cultures, and discovering different things is a lot of fun. To me, it's a lot of fun. But so I guess, to make a long story short, on one hand, of course, you have the people who just can't figure out, what are you doing in this space? Because you're a Black woman, why are you in this farm space? Because Black women don't farm. You got that. But then you have the other part who's saying, hey, we farmers, we are like a kind of like our own, and I don't want to take this out of context, but we're our own like kind of league of ourselves, our own like fraternity, our own sorority. It's something special about being a farmer. And it doesn't matter what ethnic group you come from, what class or whatever, it's something about us, because we are earth people. Amen. And so we are people who want to be with the earth and love the earth and love to share with what the earth has to offer us, and value and appreciate that. So that's what that's how I fit in it. Like I said, I'm an earth person. And so anybody who's an earth person, you're a person that I like.
Wonderful. Next, I guess we're going right to Travis. Travis, could you talk a little bit? You mentioned that you are a disabled veteran, and could you speak a little bit about your identity and what that brings to the space, and what it means for you, and how has it helped shape your experience in farming here in Kentucky?
Yeah, absolutely. I have, you know, disability, as we all know, is a wide scale, but I'm totally blind, so it usually puts me in a severely disabled category. So I lost my vision in the military when I was 21 years old. Up until that point, I was just a poor little white hillbilly boy. And then I lost my vision. I moved away from here to study technology and things. And while I was out west, I just I couldn't believe their food system, the amazing foods that I had access to. So as I studied, I enjoyed food, and but and then I got into the industry and was working, and there was no fulfillment. And I think I'm a dirt person, a ground person, an earth person. I had to get back home and try to help identify what was wrong here in our local food system in the state, and particularly in the mountains, that was preventing access to a lot of good fresh food. And then, you know, I got back here. We started, and my sister and I, we started growing, you know, our green beans, tomatoes, the same things our granny grew, and selling them at the market. I think the old timers really welcomed me in. I think they were inspired by my enthusiasm to try to farm as a blind person. So I, from the start, I've gotten a lot of support and encouragement. People have offered their knowledge and their help. It's been a unique experience. There are a lot of grants and things out there, and I think it really has helped me to be a minority, to be able to utilize some of these grants. But you know, they're small. It makes up a little bit, but you know, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But I think I'm always inspired to be successful and to be present and social, so that other folks here in my area and anywhere else can see that they can take on an occupation that is close to their heart, even if it doesn't maybe make sense right up front. There are a lot of barriers, but I've used you know, my time and people management skills to utilize the small amounts of labor that I have available to me. And even though I can't do a lot of the physical stuff as efficiently as a sighted person, I feel like I find ways to get it done. If someone's doing it for me, I'll stand there and cheerlead for them. If I can't do anything else, it's been a hugely fulfilling experience, and I think we're happy here at the farm, and look forward to continuing to share a story and encourage other farmers who are who have unique situations and may not be the stereotypical farmer.
Thank you so much, Travis. You certainly have just inspired me. That was amazing. Appreciate everything you just shared. And so now we're going to go to Nelson. And Nelson, could you please speak on the fact about your identities and what you bring to this space and what that means for you as a Latino farmer, and also how has this helped shape your experience in farming here in Kentucky?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, first of all, in general, it's not easy to be farmer, and it's not more easy to be a small farmer, because it's not just to farmer to work 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day sometimes. it's not the hard, it's not only the hard work. The farmer need to find in the market, and the problem on the market doesn't take note that the importance and the sacrifice to grow, to grow. So the market work just thinking in money. Okay, so everybody go to the market talking in general, but this everybody include the big farmers, include the industrial farmer, the factory producers, etc. And the small farmer goes to this market in this condition. Yeah. So in this case, it's important that the how to the farmer goes to the market. And in our experience and taking another experience, the only way to survive in this market is working together. Individual, in my experience, it's impossible to survive. If you wanna grow to sell, if we grow to sell, of course, to grow food for self-consumption, or to share with the neighbor, share with the community, it's important. But the people who wanna live farming, the only way to have is work together. So it's part of the our identity and the effort that we are doing for at least 9 years here in Prospect, in La Minga. So in a specific term, as I say earlier, we are growing food that the we and the people missing. Okay, so when I say the people and we missing, it's because it's not the food. So the specific thing is surrounding with culture. So in this case, we think that one of the identities that we bring to this space is we are growing, seeing that we, our family, and our ancestors eat in our country, say the real food. So this means this food has ancestral roots. So we think that we are reconnecting here in United States, and on the same time, we are sharing with our culture with another culture, and this is very important. Our experience in the farmer market, when the people who grow, born and grow here in specific in Kentucky and in the area that we sell, the Jefferson County, Oldham County also. So the people start to try and ask curious about something. Yeah, it's not just the specific vegetable, it's the information, we share properties, we share recipes, etc. So we are sharing a culture also. And in our case, the most important thing is we are raising the importance to work together. As I say early, we believe that the individual farmers is impossible to survive. So the same is important to work together to survive as a human being also.
I wanted to ask that when you say you're working as a cooperative, is your group farming inner city, or is your land that you farm on, is it more out in the country, or where exactly are you doing this work? Working cooperative?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because we really don't know, because we are in Prospect. I don't know if you are familiar with the Prospect area. It's one of the development area in Oldham and Jefferson County. We are surrounding the big houses, but it's on the middle to the city. We have a few small farms. So this farm that we are farming is on the middle to the city, but the whole farm is a 600 acres farm. It's a big farm that we are using just 10 or 12 acres maybe. So but we are on the middle to the city.
Okay. And how many farmers are working in your group?
Right now, because we have 10 years trying to work together, it changes every year. But this year we are 12 people farming and gardening, working and farming for the market.
Okay. I love that your emphasis on working together. I think you've said that more than 10 times, that the important part is working together. And I think as that's one thing, I mean, you're working on an ancestral pull from what's inherently innate within you, especially in the African American community. I can speak to that to work together and draw from that ancestral pull. So I really appreciate the fact that when you first started even talking, you said we are people of the land. And
Yeah.
Dr. Dawson said the same.
I am glad to raising that.
Yes, and I think we all definitely are in honoring our mother. The earth is. And next we will speak and we won't. Next, Lisa, please, being a white woman and working in agriculture and all the jobs that you've done in farming and how what that brings to the space for you, what it means for you, and also how it shaped your experience in farming in Kentucky.
Yeah, thank you. I, up until about 3 years ago, moved through this female farmer, not considering myself a white female farmer. It wasn't until I started studying racism in the food system and the source of the inequities that we have that I realized the implications of being a white female farmer. And so Kentucky. I was a farm apprentice for 2 years, 2013 and 2014. Amazing farm, but a farm that was definitely set up for work by men. And any woman who has even gardens, not, gone on to farming, understands that tools are made for men. They're not made for women, and our bodies are different, and we have to use ourselves in a different way. So I guess from the female farmer perspective, that's just a challenge to figure out how to work with the tools and equipment that is made for farmers, and how to make them work for us and our bodies, regardless of how strong or how weak we might be. So there's that. And then when I started learning about racism in the food system, realized that privilege to help others produce food for people, and to draw more people into the food system. So, and I guess also an identity that I hold here is as a communicator, as a writer, and someone who works on food system projects, to use this position to amplify the challenges that come with being a female farmer, because I think for the most part, someone would look at folks like me and say, like, oh, she doesn't look like a farmer, but not understand what that means, like in a larger sense. So to amplify what the challenges actually are, and then as well as to challenge the privileges that come with being a white farmer. I see that also as being a part of my responsibility as a communicator in this space.
Thank you, Lisa. That was very opening. I'd like to ask, and I think I'll just, because you were kind of leaning into it, I'm just going to ask you, Lisa, what does equity mean to you? You talked about the barriers in writing and making things, people are more aware, but what does equity mean to you?
It's funny. This is a harder question than it should feel like, particularly this whole evening is about equity, and I should know the answer to this question. But I feel like, this is a thing that's hard to define because it's not a thing that we've ever had. So it's hard to point at it and say it's this right here. But really, I guess I look at equity as each of us getting what it is that we need to do what we need to do, and whether that is as farmers to produce food, or whether that is just as regular people to access food. And that looks so different for everyone, depending on where you're coming from and what resources you have. So I think I love, Nelson is talking about his cooperative, like collaboration over competition. Collaboration is where equity from. It's, I can't get there by myself, and like you can't get there by yourself. It's going to take really the whole food system to produce an equitable place for us all to work and eat, and to move from.
Thank you. Dr. Dawson, could you share with us what equity means to you?
Well, to me, when I hear that word, it's really about, it's because it's really one of the things, before I was a farmer, I was a professor of African American studies. So I dealt with race and race relations and all this all my life. And in classrooms with all kinds of people in all kind of public spaces and all this. You know, it's about being fair. And so in other words, no situation, like if you've ever been married or anything, you know that a relationship can be 10, 90, 50, 50, 40, 60, 20, 80, you know, it varies. And we need a system that is fair. You see, I mean, can we just be fair? So in other words, it's not something that is going to be, you're going to get exactly this and you're going to get exactly that. That's not the way the world is. But be fair to people. Be courteous to people. So in other words, you know that certain groups of people, because they were enslaved, as in my case, and my other side, my native side, you know, they were also placed in a situation where they're at a disadvantage. So you know that. So we need to be fair to these groups of people. We know that women have not been treated fairly. So men need to go out their way to do what's right. You see? I mean, it's like, if you know, I'm in a community where I have a lot more resources than a lot of people in the community. Let's give you an example. People are talking about like a turkey. For many communities right now, to be able to get a turkey means something. To get a ham, to get something for their dinner, that's a struggle. And see, a lot of people, we're just so removed from that, we don't understand. We could just, some of us just go to Walmart or go to Kroger or go to Publix. And I said those different stores on purpose because all of them have different classes. There's different classes. People who shop at Publix tend to have a little more than people who shop at other places. I'm just being real. So, but there's other people in communities that they don't know where they're going to get their turkey, or where they're going to get their ham, or where they're going to get the sweet potatoes. They don't know. They have no place. They're going to be waiting at food lines, and hopefully they get some. I had a friend, in fact, she was able to get a turkey because she got a large family. And she was able to get a turkey from one of the social service agencies. Well, some of the other people in the community were not able to do that, and it was a problem among the people in the community of who was able to get that. So we live in a world where, like I said, some people it's not fair what others have, and we know it. Those of us who have more know that's wrong. So we need to do what's necessary to make sure that that's equitable. And when it comes down to, particularly with families and with children being able to eat, like, you know, I suffer from diabetes and other kinds of ailments, you know, and when I was thinking about it this today, in fact, when we were growing up, you know, we drank Kool-Aid because that was cheap. And so putting something with a whole bunch of sugar was something we had access to. You can buy 5 pounds of sugar in that calorie garbage junk, right? We couldn't buy juice that was 100%. We didn't have access. We didn't have that kind of money. Now, the things that we did grow, we were able to do that. But, you know, so many people just don't have access to things. They just don't. And so those of us who do, need to do what's necessary to make sure that the situation is fair as it can be.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. And I'll move down to Travis. I'll let you comment, please, on what equity means to you.
Yeah. I think the equity, it means not just saying anyone is welcome to a set of resources, but identifying folks who may already have been put aside or felt or who feel separated from the community, reaching out with those resources to educate and encourage more people who might be like where I live. I mean, we have a couple hollers that have Black folks. We have a couple of spots where there are Latino folks, but not a whole lot. So I think where I'm at, particularly here in the mountains, we need to not just say that the resources are available, but kind of reach out and open our hands and make sure that people know that they're there and that that they're welcome and encouraged to come out and participate. I think back here in the mountains, we can kind of people. If any of you guys have been here, it can be there can be some interesting racial tensions and stuff. And I think through farming and working together and collaborating on feeding one another, I mean, I don't think you could get more connected than that. I think it would be a beautiful thing if we could have some more initiatives that focused on facilitating those kind of connections. And that's something here at the farm we've tried to do, and we hope to do more, is to connect to rural communities and communities outside of the state and outside of the country, and show what it's like to grow here and show how you can make a few bucks and feed your family at the same time. Yeah, but I definitely think we need to have some more programs reaching out to folks and connecting different types of people and different farms for collaboration.
Great. Thank you. And Nelson, would you like to comment on what does equity mean to you?
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a nice work, but it's really big because las the ancestors say, and I agree with all of that they say about what equity means. Equity means fair for everyone, mean work for the commonwealth, cooperation, collaboration, whatever we call it. So everyone has the right to the access to good food, but why I say it's a big goal, because we have to be realistic that we are in the middle, that the system is unfair. So this means if we want to work more and increase the equity in our communities and state, etc., or the country, so we need to talk about what systemic change need to be done in order to increase the equity. The other characteristics of this system is the system promote the competition between people, and to me the key to the system, because the system promote the values and the idea that to think just in me, the others doesn't have importance. So this means equity include to change values, to change lifestyle. So how many people recognize that, and how many people are open to change values, to change lifestyle? Like I said, and I met another farmer that as Lisa or other people that they are in the panel, they decide to farming because they realize the importance to farmer, to grow food, to have access to food, etc. So this is meaning change values. So so back to the field work. It's a big work, but it's important to work and to increase and have more equity in our communities. But as I say earlier, this includes to recognize that we are everyone in the community, everyone on the county, everyone on the state, everyone on the world is different. But we live in the same community, we live in the same country, and we live in the same planet. Our individual action affects the life of the others. So I need to think also in the others. Yeah, again, this includes to think and have the decision to make change in our values and our lifestyles also.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. I love the fact that everyone understands, obviously, that this is a deeper question than we could ever really, we're kind of scratching the surface here because it is so deep. And I mean, when I look at fairness, I think about myself at a table, and we're in as Nelson said, a system that obviously needs to be changed. And so I find myself brought to the table many times, and the table's full of food, and I'm offered a seat now, you know, and my ancestor wasn't allowed a seat at the table. And I got a chair, but I can't eat. However, when I go to pick up a grape, my hand is smacked. And so it's a constant issue there where we all might be able to sit at the table right now, but we're not eating from the table. And so and the fairness of that, we definitely do need to change. So our next question to the panelists is, what is your vision for a more equitable food farm system in Kentucky? And how are you currently working towards this vision? If we could start with Dr. Dawson.
Well, I think, can you hear me? Am I on? Okay. I think that you have to first look at who has the money, because a lot of the socially economic disadvantaged farmers, the problem is they don't get the money in their hands. They don't have the equipment they need, which costs money. They're not able to get workers, which costs money. They need to be able to house the workers. There's so many different things that they need money. And those institutions that have money, like the USDA, also the state, the extension offices and all, need to do more at getting money in the hands of these farmers. And just like with the grant that you all gave out, that was good. You gave out, they need to be able to get small amounts of money too, you know, where that, like in our instance, we had a major water bill problem this summer. Okay. And so that money came in handy. And we was able to pay this major water bill for the farm, else it would have got cut off. Sometimes small farmers need little help. And so there needs to be programs that give them little help without so all the red tape and complications. So to be able to get certain types of loans, you have to go through all kinds of different things, all kinds of red, blue, orange, people, purple tape, and that can be difficult. And you'll be cut off. Your whole operation will be shut down before that happens. So we need to be able to have smaller pools of money that people can get access to quickly. That's one thing that can be done. Two, it needs to be more equitable ways for people to get those larger scale loans and grants. And also, sometimes you need to hold people's hands so that they'll understand. Sometimes I find that a lot of small farmers and all, they didn't get the money and all. They didn't understand how to do it. They just didn't know how. So, you know, showing people how to do things, and more networking within groups. I think that's important too.
I completely agree, and I find
older farmers.
When me being a farmer for things, I find that when I hear about loans or grants, the deadline is just 30 days away. Like, and how is that? Like, how does this information get to us?
Well,
you got to write a whole grant, and I need more than 30 days.
Can I answer that? What happens?
Please go ahead.
What happens is that, first of all, if you're going to apply for one of those grants, most people use the grant application for the year before. So those people who are competing, they for the rural development grant. It may be due in March, but you already have the information in December. That's really how it works. So somebody should have told you months ago to have it, because it's usually very a little difference occurs in the changes in the grants from year to year. So you should have that information months in advance using an older one, but nobody tells you that.
Right.
See, that's something simple. Nobody says that. And also with most grants and most loans, you also have to have a relationship with the grantor. That's something else to people.
Wow. Okay. Travis,
You won't get.
Would you like to share your vision for a more equitable food and farm system in Kentucky, and how are you currently working towards this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of information is generated and pushed out there, but I don't think like we're talking about right now, I don't think that information gets to some of the places it really needs to get to the most. Everyone doesn't know where their office is or their soil conservation services. So in addition to having those brick and mortar places, we need some better ways of maybe connecting people and distributing those resources, whether it's driving up in the hollers or finding Facebook groups and putting that information out there early. Very small things like that, I think, are going to go a long way in the sort of in the immediate future if we could get it happening. But a larger vision, I think, would is for me would be having our local folks working together, different types of people, helping, growing food together, like like communities contributing in different ways, just to get the food grown, distributed, and even packaged and maybe shipped away out of here for income, to support other programs. It's hard to move our products. It's hard to store our products. If we grow more of a crop than we anticipate, often we kind of really just give it away because we don't have facilities or any kind of anything in place for long-term storage, packaging, and distribution. I think that could be a big a very helpful component. Years we could create some jobs with packaging and distribution, and of course find a way to be inclusive, so that people know when they're eating their food, it's coming from the whole community. It's coming from the diverse community around them, not just not just one of these big farms. So yeah, that's kind of my vision. A lot of collaboration, people working together, people knowing their food's coming from a diverse a group of humans and resources.
Thank you, Travis. I will say, like, every place that I've been in, like meetings and talking about these issues, distribution is almost always at the top of the list on the need, like for anything, for working anything out cooperatively. We usually always end up to the spot where, like, oh, we've got this, we've got that. Storage and distribution always falls in, like, okay, well, how are we going to get it there? And Dr. Dawson, when she was talking about doing that whole thing with having items going out of state to different places, and how far away we are from here, and like how central Kentucky truly is to all these places, but that distribution is something that's very necessary, and I agree there.
And the loans and things, up a distribution system or a storage infrastructure. Those kind of loans are often out of reach for us who don't already have some kind of deep connections or money behind us.
Right. They want you to have all this capital. When if I had capital, I'd just do it myself. That's to get a loan. Yeah. Nelson, would you like to tell us what your vision is for a more equitable food and farm system in Kentucky, and how you're currently working towards this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back to what equity means. I think it's important to work more on the vision for the more equitable food system, to work to, or maybe to change the relation between producer and customer, because the relation between producer and customer, back to we are in the system, we are on the market. If the producer need to sell and make incomes, so right, okay, and it's feed your family, okay, and the customers are looking just for the low price. Okay, it doesn't matter who is the farmer, the customer is looking low price. Doesn't matter who is the farmer, where the food is from. So for more equitable food system, need to make more connection between the producer and customer beyond the eternal fight for price. Again, this means change values. The question is how we can work because don't forget that in my case, in the case, a lot of people, the people there on the panel, we are farmers, but we are customers also. So how we act when we are on the customer position? Okay, so just think a little bit in this scene, and the importance to change the values for more equitable food system in Kentucky and everywhere. Okay, summarize, work more in the direct relation between producer and customer. So the other thing, and it's related with that, I think the community, the society, the country, the world need to do more social value to the importance to farming and the importance to the farmer. Yeah, because sometimes the people think just in the food, but no more behind to the specific product. What is behind the people who farm? Okay, so the community needs to do more value to the farming and farmer in general. And related with that, what's important is fresh and local food. Yeah, the community need to recognize also the importance of the fresh and local food. Highlight the aspect that I mentioned earlier. Farmer, and for more equitable food system, farmers need to work together with other farmers in a different way. Just a little bit that we try to promote naturally in the farmer market. The farmer market, specific farmer market, and specific farmer market need to work in the aspect that in this specific market, we are farmers trying to grow the best, trying to sell and make income to survive. We are no a competition. So and start to do things like just trade products. If I don't grow tomatoes and my neighbor farmer on the farmer market has beautiful tomato, why not to share with a few things that maybe he or she don't grow, and start with this kind of collaboration. Why not, if I don't grow something, why not do common sales with a few customers? So we are doing this kind of thing in the farmer market and on the farm also, to work in maybe minimal action or a small action, but step by step we can increase the farmer work more with another.
Wonderful.
I mean, with others.
Okay, we're getting really short on time here. Just looking at the clock, it's 7:54. And so the last question that we had was, what can CFA do for you? And if our panelists could quickly comment on what we can do for you here at CFA to help move forward towards your goals of a more equitable future. Lisa, start with you.
I guess, for one, I appreciate CFA's willingness to have conversations like this. I think hard conversations are the way forward. And part of I suppose the ultimate reaching equity is not having these conversations anymore. So like when these become irrelevant, then we know like, okay, we've done a good job here. So just to continue to lift up things like this, and to continue the policy work that CFA does, and working on equity across the board, on how to help farmers get started and access resources. Something I was thinking about from a farm worker perspective, because it can take so darn long to find land or find land that you can access, more resources for folks who don't own a farm already, whether that looks like a job board or an information sharing board, a sort of opportunities, a way to share opportunities, I guess, is something I have been thinking about that we're really missing. And, you know, a while back, CFA had the Ag Legacy Initiative for beginning farmers. And I don't know, perhaps that program lost funding or whatever. But I think something like that maybe could be tied into, you know, an opportunities sharing situation.
All right, thank you. Would any other panelists like to comment on what CFA can do for you?
Oh, for me, well, in general, I think CFA continue the good policy work and reach out to your farmers and connections you've made to help push and give some real to help put a face on the policy. I mean, that's important. Yeah, and keep building your resource system, and doing great.
Thank you, Travis. Anyone else?
I think, you know, giving out small grants to farmers, also, back to, helping to lobby, because that needs to, so that the not only just the socially disadvantaged farmers' voices can be heard. That's important. So I think that the alliance, that's important to continue to do that, to make sure that, because it's so easy to in this big agricultural world to get lost for Black, Latinos, other people with disabilities. It's so easy to get lost in that. So that keeping our faces alive, but also with what's going on with the pandemic now, which we really didn't talk a lot about, but we are essential. And in fact, it needs to be pushed, that needs to be lobbied, that farming is essential. It's something, it was said about a little bit, it's said that, but it needs to really be essential. And the state of Kentucky need to recognize us essential workers, period.
I agree. You don't want to get me started on that. Does anybody else on the panel want to comment on what CFA can do to help them with their equity work?
Yeah, this is Nelson. I agree with the others. I wanna just I think CFA needs to be more proactive to promote policies and work also to increase the direct relation between customer and producer. One specific thing related with us that the CFA can help is the beyond the nostalgic with the Latino products, the Latino market in Kentucky is big. Just for example, just as we cover maybe the 25% of the demand just in the Jefferson County. So the Latinos live in every county in Kentucky. If they are missing this kind of food, nobody else are producing local. So I think we are ready to share our knowledge, our experience to promote Latino crops with another farmers. We can share and see if can make a good work to connect farmers in this specific case to produce Latino crops and in general ethnic crops, African crops from the another area.
Thank you, Nelson. We'd like to move into the question and answer Q&A from the panelists and the participants. And following up with what Nelson just said about CFA being more proactive, there is a question here from Shane Fields to everyone. And he says, my question is, if we don't see diversity at our markets, how do we find local diversity and support them getting involved? I think that's a very good question. And it kind of echoes just what Nelson said, because the truth is that you don't find a lot of diversity in our farmers markets, and by way of customers and also producers at the same time. And so how do we get out there or find the diversity that is within our communities and help them getting involved?
I was in a conversation, it was a panelist about equity in farmers market. It was with Iowa State. And one of the things we talked about was location. I think some people don't realize sometimes, especially in Kentucky, the farmers market location could have some type of emotional impact on those of color as far as customers go. And people have realized as they've moved their markets that they had more of a diverse population come into the markets after they moved them. So Location seems to be one of the ways, just trying to figure out. And then, of course, then fresh stock market started to pop up in different communities. And I think really understanding what market needs to be and what community can help build certain relationships.
Are there any other questions from the participants today? Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask?
Can I also say something based
Yes,
on just
please.
what Tiffany said, that building relationships, I think if we're looking for more diverse groups of farmers to come into existing markets, it takes more than, you know, just sending an email and saying, hey, there's a space in our market. Like building the relationship and building trust is kind of where that needs to start. And that's not like, this isn't a thing you're going to do tomorrow. Like this is a long-term community building thing that we all have to work on. And in terms of starting new markets, and not just farmers markets, I mean markets as in a means of farmers to sell food. There was a project that I worked on that was part food access, part creating a new market, a new means of farmers to sell food. And one of the measurable goals was to bring new farmers into this system. And what we found was there were some existing farmers who were not so open to that idea, that they were interested in moving into that market, and that was going to be for them, not for the new folks. So I think there really needs to be, well, there might be some well-meaning people in the community who say, we want to see more diversity of farmers and product at our market. It has to be a larger discussion and something that most people are on board with.
And can I add this too? Farmers markets need to be more than markets that sell food. We need to be more innovative and creative in it. For example, programs for young people, arts and crafts, music, theater, cooking. You know, one of the ways of introducing people to new markets and new kinds of foods is to cook the food. Just like we had with the purple sweet potato. And I'm a sweet potato person, but I never even knew purple sweet potato existed. And so now, I mean, so I got all these people eating purple sweet potato. So you see what I'm saying? So we have to do other kind of creative things to attract people to farmers markets. More, you know, creative things. Just and like you know, we do farm to table and all. You can do other things. The market can be more than just where you buy produce.
Two things that I wanted to mention just before I forget. One, when Lisa was talking about being a white woman and being president and building these relationships and such, you know, one thing that is discussed quite often is our allies, like white allies in Black agriculture and the network of what that looks like, the trust building that goes on with that. I'm going to leave that open-ended and hoping that we can have some conversation about that. But a lot of the people in the local food system, that names I hear repeat, some of that are on this chat right now, are considered white allies to Black farmers, and the trust relationship has been built. And so the comment I'm seeing and some of the stuff that we're hearing is making sure that the right relationships are being built, where Black farmers and brown farmers and other people who are going through other economical challenges, would know who to talk to and how to connect with those resources. Just like Kayla Preston got on and was talking about her resources with Grow Appalachia. That is a huge resource. You know, we have a lot of organizations on the chat who are huge resources. And I think that that's one of our jobs, not just the CFA, but those who are on this chat, to continue to everyone, so everybody knows who everyone is. The second thing I was going to mention is that Black soil has to be mentioned in this conversation. The way that they connected, a lot of what Dr. Dawson is talking about, taking Black farmers, putting them in a place to help with aggregation and distribution, putting in things like value-added products, arts and crafts, seeds, planter seeds for the kids to work with during the pandemic, are a lot of innovative ways that she's connected, they've connected, Black soil's connected with Black farmers, and has, you know, grown past Black farmers to other types of farmers as well, using the network that just was, you know, discussed. I just want to use them as an example. And Dr. Dawson's, the way that her production is running too, is a great example of using all that is being discussed and great, awesome, positive stuff in local.
Thank you. And that was a great example of how we can incorporate diversity and equity and inclusion practices moving forward. And it does take all of us. And there are people on the call that are from other organizations and people that might, you know, think that, oh, you know, CFA is doing this work, but all of us need to do this work. And there's more, if there's more inclusion just from the allies, people that are able to move things forward and help get things started for people who are in situations that, as farmers that are, you know, we're not the 60-year-old white guy that you're used to seeing, but this is the face of Kentucky now. And so we all need to be moved up and put in positions, and working together is the way to do that. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? That's why we're all here. So please type in the chat.
Or feel free to just unmute yourself and shout it out.
Yeah. Unmute yourself. Let it go.
So this is David Neville. I work a little bit with Kentucky State University, not in official capacity. But because of that, working with the STEM program, have got to meet lots of great kids. And so one of those young folks, 17 years old, a young Black man, president of his FFA, really outgoing, really getting with it. And he asked me how to buy a farm. So we went to try to discover how to do that. This young man, even though he was engaged with his FFA and was really bright, had never been to the county extension office, didn't know what they do. So I sent him some links for Farm Service Agent, Agency, Young Farmer Program, etc. And he got all these links and he said, Mr. Neville, you've done a lot of work, but man, what do I do with all this stuff? So we dug into a little bit to the demographics, and it turns out that 25 and under young folks in Kentucky, as ag producers, there's less than 2%. Even though all these organizations have been talking about, hey, we need more young farmers involved. And so we've started a pilot project with 4 kids. They'll all be 25 and under. They'll be from underserved communities, some female, some Black, some Indian from India, for instance, some Hispanic, to build a toolbox so that wherever you are in Kentucky, you can take this toolbox and understand how to connect with those resources, because there's a lot of great resources out there that folks just don't flat know about, you know, whether that be loan programs or educational programs or anything like that. So we're going to kick that off here in about a month or so once we got everything lined out, but be looking for that.
Interesting. Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Would anyone else like to comment or share thoughts or any questions for the panelists?
Kathy Curtis, you had a question in the chat box. Why don't you unmute yourself and put that out there?
Thanks, Lori. It just seems to me we're talking about equity in small farmer to small farmer, gender, but is in my limited wisdom, it seems like one of the hardest hurdles for small farmers to jump is the industrial food complex. And just for instance, crop insurance, something that a huge farm is built right into the program, but a small farm can't afford. So how do we make the equity in those kind of situations when it's the big guy versus the little guy, and the big guy's got all the advantages and the little guy's just the little guy?
It looks like Dr. Dawson's trying to answer. Like, thank you. Unmute.
Did I unmute? Okay, am I back?
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
I'm an urban farmer. For many years, the United States government, the United States Department of Agriculture did not respect urban farmers. We're just now in recent years being in the Farm Bill and recent years having grants and loans that we were able to obtain. You urban farmers, that people thought that people who grew on small tracts of land were not serious farmers. And that attitude still exists, period. That small farmers don't really mean anything compared to large scale agriculture. And now I happen to work with some large scale row croppers in Georgia, so I know how both of the things work. But there are things that each can learn from each other. And more people are doing more and more work on small, making large sums of money using small acreage. That is really what's happening. And like I said, going into more urban farms and all that, we have more and more problems with just food, period, and being able to get good quality food. It's a need for more and more small farmers. So I think that what we have to do is that, first of all, that has to also happen on the policy level. And that's where the Alliance can really help, to say that small farmers, make sure that small farmers are real farmers too. You know, because I remember applying for grants not that long ago when they would say, well, are you a real farm? Do I have a farm number? Yes, I'm a real farm. You see, just because it's small doesn't mean anything. So I definitely think that that's a valid point that you're bringing, and it needs to be more lobbying, I think, on a policy level to change those attitudes. Because like I said, there's more and more farming being done in small areas, especially in urban areas.
Thank you. I can add to that with meat processing and the COVID experience that we're having right now. And, you know, the way the rules change and shift for the big guys, and how unfair that seems when we're down here just trying to make it work as the little guy. This is for me, and I might be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we need some people to stand up and be like the sensei of the sword and help teach others how to sharpen the tools that they have in their toolbox. And that's kind of finding the leaders to do that, to the people that step forward, or bringing those people forward and allowing that voice to happen, to speak for us as little guys. That has to happen soon. We're kind of in a area now that you can see with this election and everything going on, people are so divided, and we all, I don't know, there's always this herd mentality that we've been taught to follow and to serve this big industry that's feeding the masses. Yet we know that we have the ability to feed ourselves and need to be self-sovereign. And so to stand firm in our own self-sovereignty, I think is very important moving forward, and what we're going into in this era that we're going into is that self-sovereignty as a little guy. We have to be firm in saying that, you know, this is our right, and we are self-sovereign. And they can keep their system if they want. That's what I feel. I mean, it's there. It's like conquering Goliath. However, we do need policy to protect us. We do need policy for our rights and for ourselves. And eventually everybody else will fall in with us. I know that's going to happen, hands down. It will come. They will come to us. Nobody really wants that. But to make available a way for us, it has to happen. There's some things that were put forward in policy that said that they're going to stop confinement operations in 20 years. And I posted that on my Facebook and someone commented, that's not soon enough. So animals need, vegan person or something, animals need rights, and that like they needed to stop it now. But I mean, you think about that. Are we really prepared to stop something like that right now when we don't have anything in place for the little guy, for the small farmer? We don't have any education really available to turn the wheel of what needs to happen. And so that education component is another thing. It's like, how do we bring forward regenerative farmers? And that has to come by teaching our younger generation. We have to do this. I'm doing this for my kids. I don't know. I'm doing this for my kids. My kids have to have what's better. Here I go crying. But that's what has to happen. Seriously, I mean, we have our children that has to come up in this, and we have to do this for our kids. Sorry. You shouldn't have asked me to leave.
Don't apologize, Kenya. I think most of the folks on this call could listen to you talk all day about what you're passionate about. Kelsey and I really wanted you to be our facilitator because we knew that you would bring that to this chat. So
I tell you, I'll tell you what was on my heart the other day. I was crying my eyeballs out at my husband, and he was just looking at me like, what? Like, did you call for help? Because, Black Soil lives here on my farm with me, and Trevor happened to, God bless him, he came out of his house the other day with a plate of food and a trash bag in his hand, and I had a goat just on the building behind me. Over here is their house. And so there was a goat that had gotten out, and she was small, and I've been herding animals for a while now. And what happens when you have a herd and you need to move an animal, you've got to stand still sometimes, and you block them or whatever, and you provide a way that's open for them that you want them to go. And so they will move into that area, and you might have to jolt at them a little bit and, do something to make them scurry, but you've got to give them a break. And I feel like right now, with the world we live in, like this break is about to come. We've all been going along as this herd, and they can't keep jumping at us and jumping at us and jumping at us. And you'll lose your mind if you keep jumping at an animal. Trevor came walking out, and they said, hey, block that, stand right there. He put his trash bag down, he had his plate, and he was ready to move the goats. And he jumped a little bit, and she came towards me, and we all stood still. And then he went to jump again, and I put my hand up and I told him, just wait and let her think. And so he stood there, he said, all right. And she started to move, and she looked around, and she saw that open gate, because God knows she's tired. She's tired from all of us jumping at her. And that's what a herd will do. They'll get tired, and when you allow that break, they'll go and walk right through that damn gate you opened. But we have to stop and think, do we really need to go through this gate? Because if we don't continue to buck back and make our way, then we'll just follow along and go through the gate, and they'll keep putting more rules and laws and everything else on us to have us just where they want, where their foot is on my neck. And I cannot have my children coming up through a system that allows them to just have a pause and go through the damn gate. That's got to stop. And if we don't start right now with our work continuing, and you can see it, we got a lot of work that has to be done. So just because the pause is coming, and I just want y'all to think about it when it's happening. The pause is about to happen, but we need to think about what work we have to continue, and we have to fight and start doing and keep doing to make our way. I'm done.
Yes, Kenya. And also just want to shout out, thanks Jane for putting it in the chat, Kenya is KSU's Small Farmer of the Year. So shout out to Kenya. amazing, and we all know it.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm little nobody from Greenup. Okay, so I am not in the areas that are hot, that have your organizations, that have the universities, that have the programs. I have been very fortunate to get to go to a few things like the food conference where I got to meet Kenya and hear Dr. Dawson. Of course, Tiffany's come up here and shook my world and got me thinking about outside stuff. SOG conferences have dissolved. I've been involved with some vet conferences, but most of those are dealing with maybe older people. And what I'm hearing, again, uneducated here in Kentucky, out of the loop, that there is a gap between the younger people who are in some of the programs or getting ready to go to college, who don't know the information, don't know how to find it, don't have access to it, don't have mentors. Is there a chance with this program to form a summer conference for kids who are interested, who have done 4-H or FFA or something before they go to college, or just starting college and saying, here's a conference and here's your mentors, here's the people who have been shaking it, have gone before you, sit in these sessions, talk to them. So as you're going through college and figuring things out, you now have people who have given you those resources. Because I don't see that, and many, even in the food conferences, I didn't see a lot of transitional age people there getting the education. I didn't go to all the courses, but is there a way to find a conference to pull those resources and say, hey, we're going to have these young people before they're getting into these systems and programs to get that reality of what they can actually do from the folks like Kenya and Tiffany and Dr. Dawson, who have been breaking that ground. Now's the time for them to set those roots in what you all have already done.
Can I say this? You know, I used to have a 4-H group. The thing is that most of the, especially FFA, but most of the 4-H and most of the FFA groups are white. And unfortunately, you need to get people to start groups. You can start your own 4-H group. I used to have one, and it was the most diverse one in the state of Kentucky. In fact, we won the University of Kentucky's Diversity Award for many years ago. We need to start having we need to have groups. We need to start putting these groups together, because the young people, to be honest, the white ones and the black ones, neither one of them want to go on the farm. This is a problem nationwide. And so, but there are all kind of resources. Back into that, somebody mentioned the extension office. The extension office has all kind of secretory surprises, as they used to say in the Cracker Jack box, that people need to get access to. They're there. And this is your state funds. This is your federal funding. This is your money. Your tax money is in those offices. And you need to go to them, and you need to get access. We need to have, like I said, more diverse groups of people, more people involved. 4-H has so much to it, it's unreal. Do you know that there's 4-H? Do you know that Kentucky has 4-H camps? Do you know that, right? They got campgrounds. But the people, you know, who's going to them? So they need to be more diverse, and we need to get access to those resources. You know, part of it is just doing it, going in there. And sometimes people, when you go to some of these offices, you're not going to be welcome, period. But that doesn't mean you don't go.
Right. It does take some initiative, but if you just go, I just went to some daycares in low income places, both poor blacks and whites in Fayette County. It was very diverse. It was just black and whites. There was Latinos, there was mixed. I mean, it was all types of people in different communities. I just went because I knew the kids didn't get to go out a lot. And most of the kids were black or brown and needed representation of what a black farmer looked like. And so I just went up to them, you know, and I built relationships in the schools and the daycares. Then met with different organizations, and then organizations want to get involved in communities and parks and such. And I was able to just build a program off of volunteer work that now is something that brings money to Blue Estates. So it is possible. You just have to bite fear and just go hug some people.
Well, y'all, we're coming up on the 8:30 mark. Maybe we can take one more discussion topic or question. This has been so rich. I feel completely filled up and have lots of, I started tearing up when Kenya was talking because I typically do, but just want to thank our panelists for being with us tonight and for everybody showing up to do this chat. Is there any other lingering questions, thoughts, things y'all can't go to sleep with left in your heads about equity and ag? Cool. Well, if something does come up, there are opportunities for you to keep this conversation moving. So I'm going to drop in the chat box a bunch of links that we've shared at different points in the night. One of those is for CFA's annual meeting on December 4th. That meeting is really going to help us shape our strategic plan. And we need all y'all there to help us do it because we want to make sure that our organization is answering to the members that make it what it is. We also want to make sure that we are incorporating equity into every piece of our work. So that's why we gave space and brought all you experts in to talk about your identities and to help us share what really needs to be done in our state. There will be a breakout on equity at the annual meeting. So this conversation will keep moving. We consider this the first foundational piece, right, of how to get talking about this topic. And then we'll get to vision. And those are my favorite parts is like, how do we do what Kenya says about figuring out what gate we want to go through or which way we want to fight. And we'll get to see all that come to life, hopefully in the next little bit. So there's also a link to become a CFA member. We are only as strong as our membership base. So please join us. We have a donation rate of $30, but anybody can be a CFA member regardless of what they can give. So y'all go on over and join up. And then the Black Farmer Needs Assessment. It is live. We are working on a web page and materials to support that, but we have that link that y'all can share with people in your communities that are Black farmers so that we're doing this work correctly. I think trust was uplifted a bunch tonight about how when we work in these communities, that is really the key, is to getting folks to trust and feel the authenticity behind what you're doing. And I really believe that the work that we're doing at CFA illuminates that in the best way. And I will say that we're all still learning. So we're not afraid to say if we're messing up. And I'm really glad to have folks here that are helping guide us through that work in a really intentional way. So that's all I have. Kelsey, do you have anything else, or Kenya?
Yeah, we do also have just a short little survey about this ag chat specifically. That's also in the chat box that Maggie sent. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Anyways, but that's just like telling us if, how this event went so that when we do these virtual events in the future, we can make it better. And then just in general, if you want to share anything else that you've been thinking about as we've been having this conversation, or that you didn't lift up during the conversation, but is still on your mind and you want us to know about. But other than that, I just really appreciate y'all for being here and being part of the conversation. Kenya, do you have anything?
I just want to thank our panelists and thanks everybody from CFA who worked on this and putting this ag chat together. And it was so nice to meet you, Travis. I don't think we've ever met before, so just really nice to meet you through Zoom. I know that I have heard Nelson speak before on another panel at a meeting actually, and so, but just hearing him talk about cooperative work is awesome. And thank you, Lisa and Dr. Dawson. Love you guys to death. And as for everybody, good night. Thanks everybody that came to attend this meeting. So thank you so much for all your comments and questions too.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
God bless.